Okay.
I'm totally unprepared. How is that new?
Let's see. We'll see. I went live. Let's see what happens here. Oh, it says it's starting.
Yeah, we're on. Yeah,
we are. Yeah, you. Okay, and there we are. All right. We'll see how long it takes people to join in. Some people have been Facebooking me, so I know some of our followers will be here.
Live from Dave Ignola's basement.
Yeah, it's like Wayne's World. Live from Dave Ignola's basement. Welcome to another episode of That Plug-In Show. The show where we show you 3 different plugins and how we use them and why we like them. And most of these plugins, you can probably go demo for free on the manufacturer's website and check them out. Or you could go to our each of our individual YouTube channels, and we probably have other videos related to the plugins that we're going to show you today.
Exactly.
I'm your lovely host, David from Home Recording Made Easy, and I'm with my 2 favorite buddies in the whole world, Johnny Scotland on my right and Johnny Geib on my left, which could be reversed depending on where you're sitting. How you boys doing?
Exactly. Or if you're dyslexic, I'm on the other side.
Right. There's 2 Johnnies and there's 2 plugins. You decide which one is which.
That's going to be the new name of the show. 2 Johnnies and a Dave.
2 Johnnies and a Dave. So how you guys doing? What are you up to? Johnny Geib, what have you been up to lately? I haven't talked to you in a while.
I know it has been a while. Busy. I actually did a live stream last night. You know, on the weekends I do my potluck live streams. And I popped up last night at about 2:30 in the morning. I put an announcement in the Home Studio Trainer Studio One support group, and I got 29 people. So it was pretty awesome.
Wow. At like 2 in the morning?
Oh, yeah. 2 in the morning. It was excellent. It was only for a short time. I think on average, I had about 19 to 20 people on average. But at its peak, and when I was doing a couple of examples with the Studio One X, it was pretty amazing. The people were all there. I got people from Australia. I got 2 from Africa. I got just a whole bunch. It was awesome.
Nice. And you call that your potluck live stream? Is that what it's called?
Potluck live stream, because I pretty much do it on a whim. You know, I was working last night. I was on call. There was no calls coming in, and I says, I got nothing to do right now. I think I'll do a live stream.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey, there he is. And that's cool. So, but anyway, okay, since I'm the one starting this off here.
So that's really cool. And Johnny Scotland, what have you been up to? Anything good you want to tell the people?
What have I been up to? I've been doing a lot of session work recently.
Nice.
On my mostly keyboard work, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, not quite so much bass playing the last couple of weeks, but
I'm the only part-timer in all this in this group. Wow, you guys are like full-time.
Yeah, it's busy. It's crazy. It's like 7 days a week. Well, that's cool. So you're doing session work. That's excellent. And tell all the lovely folks about your new product you're going to be selling soon. If I would just get off my rump and actually get it set up for you.
Yes. For those of you that have MIDI Drums Made Easy Volume 1, your wait for Volume 2 is exceptionally almost nearly over. We are just about ready to drop this baby, and I'm really excited about it. It pretty much picks up where Volume 1 left off, and takes you up a few gears, and then Volume 3, which I am actually already started working on. Well, it's just it'll be like drum programming on steroids, believe me.
Johnny, did you share your screen?
I did.
Can you unshare your screen for a second?
Oh,
because you cut Johnny off there.
Oh, I'm sorry about
that. That's okay.
I didn't come through.
That's okay. We know that works. That looks awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. Okay, yeah. So your Volume 2. Yeah, and I saw Volume 2. It's really good. People have asked me about it, so I know there's at least 2 or 3 in the chat that have asked me in the last week about that. It's done, guys. It's coming in a week or so. So Johnny's got his end done. We're working on my end. You'll know about it when MIDI Drums Volume 2 launches. We will have all kinds of videos and blah 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 blah. You'll know all about it. It's coming. It's done. It's ready. He's just waiting for me. Excuse me, because mine just dropped today. If you don't know, mixing with analog style plugins made easy. I know it's a long way, a long name. Going from sterile sounding digital to analog in your DAW. It's out today. Go to the Facebook page. There's a link. You click on it. You get 20% off right away, right off the top. That's going to be done today and tomorrow. On Monday, that discount goes away if you want to check it out. So go check it out. I think you're going to like it. It's 13 hours long. There's a promo video. It's all self-explanatory. You'll really dig it. And for those of you who don't know, learningtomix.com has a Labor Day or a Labor Week Labor Day sale. You can join between now and the 11th, which is 2 days from now. for your first month for $15, which is half price. So go join today and check it out. One of the songs I'm going to show when we do my plugin today is actually this month's content. So you'll get a chance to hear a little bit about what kind of songs we do, which is just good music, right? So anyhow, check out Learning to Mix. Check out Home Recording Made Easy. And everyone who's here, we got a whole bunch of people here. At least I'm showing like 12 on my end, but I know mine's always a little delayed. Randall's here. Randall, how are you? Juan is here. Raymar's here. Missy's here. Juan, Ice Mike, how are yous? Rainier's here. Who else? Oh, Robert's here. Robert Booth. Robert, how you doing? I don't think Ian's here. How are you, Ian? Really cool. Everybody showed up. Yeah, it's going to be cool. So for you watching in the archive, if you've never seen that plugin show before, we're going to demonstrate some plugins, maybe 20, 30 minutes each, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end if you guys are so inclined to ask questions. If you're joining us late, this will be in the archive and on my YouTube channel by sometime tomorrow. Cool? You guys all set to roll? Johnny, Mr. Johnny Geib, you want to share your screen again? Because we know it works.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I didn't think it would actually knock anybody out. I was just
neither did I. Or else I would have told you.
Dave, can you turn up the volume in the stream? Because I think we've got comments that it's low.
I could turn you up in the stream. Yeah, let me know when we play back the audio in the Studio One. If anyone in the comments can tell me, I can make adjustments. I just don't want to clip the video, but I just turned you guys up a little bit, so we should be okay.
All right. That sounds cool. All right.
Take it away, Johnny Gaibe.
Okay. Hey, folks. This is Johnny Gaibe, and I'm going to be showing you guys what I have learned with the Sample One plugin from Personas. This is something that I had always ignored, and I did a master class in Chicago about 2 months ago. And there was a guy there that had some questions on it. And I told him, I was honest. I says, you know what? I really don't use this that often. So I don't know really how it works. So he showed me a couple of things. And then with what little I did know, I was able to come up with some really cool options for the Sample One plugin. So if you look on my screen here, you can actually see here's the Sample One plugin that I'm moving around in circles very annoyingly. And I have an audio track up here, up above. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open up and create another audio track that I'm actually going to record on. And I'm going to move that up to the top. And I'm going to make that red. And I'm going to arm the track. And there we go. So I'm actually recording on this track. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and record a small passage just with me counting from like 1 to 6. And then I'm going to show you how you can, the different ways that you can bring it into Sample One and use them in your song. You can do this with drums. You can do this with guitar riffs. You can do this with just about anything. So the first part of this is we'll go like this. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we got that all playing there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now we've got all of those. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can actually, while this plugin is open, you can go ahead and just drag that right into Sample One, and you can play it from a keyboard. So if I activate the monitoring, which will let me be able to play it, if you look at the way that I did this, and the different keys will give it, will give this single file a different pitch.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So there we go. That's Alvin from the Chickmunks.
1, 2, 3.
And that's Alvin and Theodore. But you can actually see that what it's really doing is it's only playing the entire file. So now, aside from that, I can actually do this. I'm going to delete that file from here. Let's see. I got to remember how to do this here. I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to do this. There we go. It is gone. So now if I hit the keys, you can see nothing actually plays in the window. Or what I can do is I can take the knife tool and I can actually, I'm going to turn off the snapping so I can cut anywhere. So I'm going to take this sample right here I'm going to take the golf call here, and I'm going to clip this out, and I'm going to drag this directly into the window. And everything that I do here, 4, 4. You can actually see that I can now play that one simple sample. But if you look really closely, it does something interesting. You can actually see some of the rest of the file that's actually in there. So if I wanted to, I could move this back 3, 4, and I could play an earlier part of the entire sample that's up here. 3, 4, And I can move this over. 2, 3. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility. If you didn't cut the right part out of it, it's kind of cool that it gives you the ability. They're grayed out. So you can actually increase this zone to play 4, 5. You can actually increase that zone to play the different parts of the sample. Let's say you said, okay, I should have done the 2. So you can actually go ahead and take this all the way down here. And then 1, that's the 1. Let's find the 2. There's the 2, 2. And I can just bring this like this. So you don't have to recut. You don't have to do anything. So the ability to actually now bring this in. 2. You can really clip this in to get that cool effect that you see here in a lot of dance music, where the voice would actually go 2, just like that, and then the vocal would break in. So there's another quick way to actually create the sample. You can drag the whole thing in, or you can clip the part out, and you can put it in there like this. Now there's one more thing that is actually quite cool that works really well with drums. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take this track, and I'm going to say delete. So now it's gone. Got to close the GUI and reopen it to make sure that it's clear. I don't know why I think that's a bug, but either way, it does clear. And what I can do now is I can use my split tool to cut these samples into their own little parts. And the thing that I can do now, let's see if this works. Haven't done it for a while. I think I highlight them all. I right click, and there should be an option in here. Let's see here. I'm looking for send to new sample 1. So let's see if I can find this here. Audio. Send to new sample 1. So I'm going to click on that. Boom. And it actually opened up another sample 1. I believe that's this one. Not that one. Is it this one? Is this one? Let's see here. Go 1, 2. Okay, there we go. So what it did is it actually now brought in each of these cuts and samples. Go 1, 2, 3, and then put it on separate keys now. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. So you can actually now play the samples on independent keys. Go 4, 1, 6, 4, 2, 4, 1, 6, 4. Go now, and you're like, well, what does that do for me? Well, the cool thing that this gives you the ability to do is if now I go ahead and I delete all these tracks. Click the first one, click the last one, say remove selected tracks and instruments. There we go. Now they're all gone. So now I'm going to bring in my MT Power drums. I'm going to pick a very simple groove. Okay. And I'm going to drag this groove in. All right, sorry about that. Ordering dinner. Okay, so I've got this loop in here, and if I play this, and now I'm going to do, so I can actually have the audio available to me. I'm going to do a Control B. Oh, now it's audio. I'm going to remove this one here, remove track and instrument. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to put cut marks. I'm going to put a cut mark on the kick. Let's do this here. That's a snare. So the first one's the kick. The top. Okay, and then I'm going to put a cut mark. I'm going to put a cut mark here, 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 and here. Just doing different areas of this. There we go. I'm going to go back to my arrow tool. I am going to highlight all of these little cuts. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say send to new sample 1. And there it is. You can see all of the cuts are in sample 1 now. And the cool thing here is I can now choose. I can choose all of the different pieces and all of these different events that I cut up to really select and pull out the sounds of the drum sounds that I want from this loop. There we go. There's just, and then. And there we go. And then when you get beyond the zone that it's created by these samples, I think there's 8 of them, or yeah, there's 9 of them. Then you can actually start to use the keys in sample 1 to do the tuning. So if you are into some of the special effects that happen in a lot of the hip hop, and be able to actually break up a drum track that you really like, and you want to take some of the kicks out of, as you see, that's just a kick in the snare. I feel like I'm on the David Letterman show, but there we go. So you can actually break up the sample any way that you want, send it to a new sample 1, take your sample and spread it out across all the keys. This will work with drums, voices, keyboard parts, you name it. It's all going to be there. It is very cool to be able to custom cut up your samples, and you don't have to just drag an entire sample in here and move the cursors around inside sample 1. You can slice them up and you can bring them in and have them put on individual keys. This also works very well for vocal samples. One of the things that I've used this mostly for is for backup vocals. Let's say you have a singer in and she does this awesome set of backup vocals for the first chorus. You can go ahead and then render all those vocals into a single wave file, bring them into sample 1, and trigger them via MIDI at any point in the song. You can pitch them to different tunes. You can do whatever you want with them. So a really killer chorus in a song can be added just at the drop of a MIDI note by bringing that backup vocal part into your sample 1, and you can add it to all parts of the song. And that is my demo of how cool sample 1 is.
That's very cool. I never saw anything like that with sample 1 before. That's interesting.
Cool. That was very
That's
excellent.
awesome. Does anybody have any questions? There was actually one question, Johnny. Let me
Sure.
Let's see. Let me let's see. Where the heck was it? I saw it and I lost it. It was way up in the chat. If anyone has any questions, Ian wants to know, Johnny, why not just make the transients and split them at the grid?
Yes, you can do that as well. You can you can use the transient detection. Actually, that's a good idea. Just really quick. Let me go ahead and glue these all back together. So I can actually now right-click on this file. Let's see if I can find that. Again, it's another feature I don't use often. Let's see. Split at bend markers. I don't have any bend markers. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Detect transients. So I can go like this. I'm going to click detect transients, and now you can see that this thing automatically put bend markers on each of the downbeats in the sample. So now I can further that by right-clicking, and now I can say, go to audio options. Somebody's dinging me here. Let's see, you go to audio options, and you can now say split at bend markers. Now you can see that the detect transients put the bend markers in place, and the split at bend markers actually did the actual cuts. Now you can highlight all of these, and like you actually saw before, let me remove this track. There we go. I'm going to right-click on this now, and I'm going to say send to new sample 1, and there it is. So exactly what you said happened by using the automatic part. I do things manually a lot because I like to be able to pinpoint the things that I'm actually cutting or whatever. But as you can see, I go ahead and turn on the monitoring.
Yeah, it does work.
Actually, it's better. I get a little bit more detail on what I'm doing here. Yeah, so that's very cool. So you could actually redo the drum beat. That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. So that was actually a good thing to point out. That you said that was Ian?
Yes.
Okay, Ian, that was actually a very good find there. It's not a feature that I use a lot, but I did know how to do it, and it works really well. So, yes, you can do that with vocals. You can do it with pianos. You can do it with just about anything, and it goes so much deeper and stuff. And we've talked in the past about me getting you a sample video on how to work with loops and samples.
Yeah, this would definitely play into that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, this is actually in the advanced section of all of that, and there is more that you can do with this. You can even join this up with Impact. There's a whole ton of stuff, and it is something that has been delayed, unfortunately, but I will finally get out very, very soon.
That'll be cool to see that. That was excellent. That's
all right. Excellent.
That's excellent. Any other questions in the chat for Mr. Guy? Or you can wait till the Q&A session is as well. Let's just see. Ian says, I use it for making loose drums in the computer time with splice instead. Okay, I see what he's saying.
Sure. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it a bunch of ways. However, you can split the original file or the original event. I could even just click on different parts of this, and I can say, put into new sample one. So you can really be that deliberate and only bring into sample one the portions that you want. So, if you can get just a drum loop of, like, say, a Led Zeppelin song, you can go ahead and splice that up and bring that into your song. So
very cool. Tony's asking, does anyone know how to detune the toms on the MT Power kit in sample one? Is there a way of doing it?
No, you cannot do it in MT Power. MT Power does not have the ability. I just tried to drag the entire plugin into sample one. I'm sure that would have crashed. So yeah, there, unfortunately, here, if you're looking at MT Power, if you go to the mixer there, unfortunately there is no way to tune the drums. What I usually do is I will go ahead and I will take the loop that I drag. If I go to the grooves and I go ahead and I drag one of the grooves into this here, I will actually go ahead and open up my own kit in Impact, and then I will take the groove track and I will reassign it. I'll reassign it too. If you look here, I can zoom in here. You can see that if you pull a groove out of MT Power, you can actually have it go to Impact, MT Power, or Sample 1. So you can actually have that entire track. There is a way to actually re-trigger the toms to be from a different plugin simply by assigning the same track to two different plugins. You see this top one here is going that I have set. It's going to MT Power.
Yeah.
And then the second one I have going to Impact. They're identical. So you can actually go into the MT Power mixer. You can actually turn down the toms and then go into the Impact and turn everything else off except for the toms. And then you have pretty much replaced your toms. You can also create samples of the MT Power toms, bring them into Impact and tune them there, and then do what I just did here. It gets really, really deep, and this will all be in the Loops and Samples video.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you can also, too, if you exploded that out to audio, if the toms are on its own audio track, you could detune it on the track too, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's another good way to do it. And you can actually just use, let's say this audio track was a drum track. You open up your inspector, then you select the toms that you want, and you literally use the transpose option to bring those toms down. So yeah, that's another way to do it. I didn't think of that. That's a good idea.
So that's cool. So any other questions? That was a good question. Can we add some distortion? Can you add distortion on the drums in this plugin? Is there any way to do that?
No, not in sample one, but if you have a sample on sample one, so open up sample, let's see here, sample one, there it is, sample one. If I was to open this and actually trigger this, okay, I would actually have to open the mixer like this.
And then add a plugin.
Right, and then add a plugin to here, something like, let's go with the Red Light District. I can find it, Red Light District, there we go.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, you can get really nuts with it. Sorry for the volume, guys. So you can really go nuts with it by doing it that way. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that answered the question. That was cool. Anybody else got any questions? We got 26, 27 people here. That's really cool. Excellent.
Awesome.
Anybody have any other questions for Johnny? Before we move on, we can move over to Johnny Scotland. If Johnny Scotland, are you ready? Or do you want me to go next?
You can go next, Dave.
You're not ready. How about that? That's what that means. Okay,
John,
no, that's...
Sorry.
That's okay. No, that's no big deal. Okay, so let me let me share the screen or try to. So hopefully you guys will see my Studio One session. If you don't, let me know. You should. Okay, so this time out, what I wanted to do is I showed this a little bit in a, I forget, Johnny Lipsham and I were doing something. I forget what video we were doing, Johnny. And we showed this off a little bit, but we didn't get too deep into this. And that is the, and people have asked me about it since. And I did do a plugin review on my channel about it. And that is the CLA MixDown plugin by Waves. And so this is a pretty cool plugin. And I played with it a little bit more. And I kind of have a love-hate with this plugin, and I'll explain why when we get into it. So
I got a lot of plugins with that feeling.
yeah. So basically, on this plugin, this is really made, it's intended to go on the mix bus, right? So you're on the mix bus, and typically on a mix bus, when you're doing a full mix, we're going to have things like maybe an EQ. We're going to have things like maybe a tape machine. We're going to have a compressor maybe. And what, instead of having separate plugins, what this plugin attempts to do is to give you the Chris Lord Algae magic, and I'll put that in air quotes, chain of his mix bus. And so it's a pretty simple plugin, like all of the CLA all-in-one plugin series. And we looked at some last month, we looked at the CLA drums, and there's bass and there's guitar. It's all laid out the same way. So basically what you do here is you put this on as the last plugin in your master bus, which I've done. If you were to look over at my master bus, you'll see that I have the only plugin I have before it.
We can't see your screen.
You can't see my screen?
At least I can't see it. Is it showing up in the broadcast?
Yeah.
Cast.
It sure is. Johnny Lipsham, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing it in the broadcast. Not seeing.
Oh,
you're not sharing it through Skype. That's I think.
Right.
That's
I'm not sharing it through Skype because I'm sharing it through OBS.
Oh, okay. Oh, you are using OBS. I didn't know you were still using OBS. Awesome.
Yeah. So on the master bus right now, I just have the VCC, the virtual console. All the other plugins, because this mix is totally done, and this mix is actually the song that we're doing this month, or no, yes, we're in September, right? Yeah, we're doing this month over at learningtomix.com. So I have my console emulation, and I have the Waves SSL compressor, which you can see is turned off. And then from there, I go over to the virtual mix rack, which you can see is turned off. All these plugins have been turned off because this mix has already been done. And what I did was, and I had a tape machine, and you can see this is turned off. What I did is I turned all those plugins off, and I put the CLA MixDown on in its place, because this is supposed to do the job of those other three plugins. So we have an input here on the left-hand side with an input meter. With a little LED here, which when you hear the audio back, you'll see. The whole idea here is to kind of get this thing so it's kind of flashing in like a green amber color. So you want to hit this plug-in fairly hard. And then from there, in the center here, we have some faders. We have a bass and a treble, which is pretty self-explanatory, right? Low end, high end. We have a glue, which is compression. And we have a drive, which can be considered tape saturation or a saturation type of a thing. Each one of those plugins can be turned on and off, or each one of those modules, I should say, could be turned on and off here. Okay. On the compressor, you see we have a little number uno and a number dos, 1 and 2. That is just two different types of compressors that that Waves modeled in CLA's chain. One is a more vintage and one is a more modern. They sound very, very similar, and over YouTube, I don't even know that you'd be able to hear the difference, to be honest. And then we have an output to balance the plugin. We have 2 meters here. We have an input meter, a gain reduction meter, and an output meter. Okay, so I typically keep it on gain reduction. And then you also have, with all of Waves plugins, if you click the load button, they have a standard set of presets, which we could cycle through, but I just typically just kind of, you know, throw it up and move some faders around until it sounds good. So let me just bypass this for a second, and we'll just kind of play back a section of this music here so you can kind of get a feel for what we're doing. So let's just see what we got going on here.
I went deaf.
Say again?
Oh, that's right. I'm not going to be able to hear it through here. I got to go to the actual video.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Sorry
right.
about that. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully the audio is okay. So what I'll do is I'll just play it back and I'll just turn this on. Now, to get started, let me just put everything at a full reset. One of the things about this plugin, if I just put it at its full reset, everything at, whoops, did I do that right? Yep. everything at 0, just running the signal through the plugin so you can just kind of hear what it does on its own without even having to really adjust anything. So here we go.
Feels like it's every other day. It seems like everything that matters fades away. This January day.
It's bypass.
And here I am just staring at the pouring rain. This January day. This January day.
So hopefully you can hear instantly that when you just turn it on and you just run signal through it, it gets a little bit louder because there's a little bit of boosting going on there, and it just kind of glues everything together, which is kind of nice. So it's kind of a easy, simple way that if you're someone that's not really, real too hip yet on all the inner workings of EQ compression and tape saturation and all that stuff, that you just want something that you can throw it on the master bus and just, run signal through it, make your mix sound better. That's what this kind of attempts to do. So now, like as I said, the idea is we want to kind of push this plugin a little harder. So watch this little LED up here as I start to push this, and I'm going to turn down the output to kind of level compensate it a little bit. Okay, so you want that LED there kind of going into like the amber color, maybe on the heaviest hits of the snare. The harder you push the input, the more kind of saturation and coloration you're going to get. And then if you want to add some low and high end, let me show you what this kind of does.
I just heard today another round my heroes passed away. And now it's
That's nice.
as though my favorite song will never sound the same again. I may be wrong, but this melancholy feeling lingers on. I don't wanna see
So without bass and treble,
what I thought was immortality. Although the words, ideas, and images live on. Sometimes we need a light to see the road we're on.
so what I like about the EQ on this, and again, I don't know the exact frequencies, they have developed some kind of an EQ curve, is that it's musical, right? So you can go plus or minus 10 dB, and you can tell when I push the bass all the way, or pull it out all the way, and the same with treble, it doesn't get really harsh. It still stays musical. Now, depending on the mix, it could be a little too much. It could get a little boomy and woofy, but it's different than if you just tried to use a standard old EQ and you crank up the bass, at 100 hertz. It gets very muddy very quickly. This is musical pretty much no matter where you set it. Now the glue is compression. So as you can see, I have it on the gain reduction meter so we can see how much compression we actually have.
Feels like it's every other day.
So we're running about 3 dB of compression, which if you read the manual, which I suggest you do on this plugin because it gives you kind of some of Chris Lloyd-Alge's kind of optimum settings. And one of the things he mentions is about on the compressor to try to hit it around 3 dB is where it kind of hits the sweet spot of the plugin. And again, every mix is going to be different. It's totally subjective, but that's just kind of a starting point, if you will, right? So it's hitting 3 dB with it at unity. So I'll push it all the way up and then I'll pull it all the way out so you can kind of hear what compression is doing to this mix.
Is this plugin expensive?
If you buy it, when I bought it, it was $29. It normally runs either 100 or 150. So it's like Waves always puts their stuff on sale for $29, and that's why I bought it.
Gotcha. Now, is this part of the Waves collection, or is this
No,
part
it's a standalone plugin. Standalone plugin. Yep. It's not part of a collection, I don't believe, but you could buy it on its own. So let me push the compressor here. So you can hear how much quieter it gets, right? Because you see how much compression we're getting.
Yeah, totally. This is a cool plugin. I'm going to look it up.
Oop. What did I do? What did I do here?
Then that's the last thing you want your dentist to ever say.
Yeah, what did I do there? Oops. Snow compression.
Will never sound the same again. I may be wrong, but this melancholy feeling lingers on. I don't wanna see.
So you can hear, hopefully over YouTube, you can hear the snare gets a little tighter, the kick gets a little tighter. It just kind of, again, it's called glue for a reason. It could be very, it's extreme if you want it to be, but again, it's very musical, and there's really no bad settings. So you just kind of just bring it up until it sounds good, really, right? I mean, the needles almost don't matter until it sounds good. And then we have this drive, which gives you a little bit more of the saturation, a little bit more harmonic distortion, but it's a little more subtle. So what I'll do is I'll move that up and down for you.
The end of what I thought was immortality. Although the words, ideas, and images.
Just tried to look up that plugin and I can't find it on.
Sometimes we need a light to see the road we're on. Feels like it's every other day.
So the drive, you really hear it more on the snares where it stands out a little more. And again, it's subtle, but it's supposed to be subtle. It's not supposed to be really, really extreme. Okay, so and then you can shut any one of these things off, any one of these modules at any one time. So I'll turn them all off and just turn them on one at a time. So you can just kind of hear what it does overall to the mix.
It seems like everything that matters fades away this January day. I just heard today another round my heroes passed away.
It sounds good, Dave.
It sounds great, right? I mean, it just adds a little something to the mix that it doesn't get way boomy or way out of control. It just makes things tightened up and it just sounds good. So what I like about this plugin, again, like I said earlier, I have kind of a love-hate with this thing, meaning that what I love about it is once you're at the level that you really understand what you're doing with EQ and compression and saturation and taping, you really understand it and you just want to do something down and dirty and quick, this is great. It's really intended for people that really don't want to know, either don't know or don't care to know or don't want to get too involved in it. They just want to throw it on and kind of set it and forget it. So but from a teaching perspective, I hesitate a little bit because then it's kind of cheating. You know,
Right.
At least the way I like people to really understand what they're doing. But that's not to say that this can't be really beneficial, because it can. Can you get more control when you use separate plugins as opposed to this all-in-one? Yes, because you're going to have more dials, more controls, more things that you can dial in. However, it's a little more complex that way. This is intended to be super down and dirty and easy. So if you go to the Waves website, it's there. I don't know if it's still on sale, but they seem to always be on sale. If it's not on sale today, you can absolutely find it for $29 sometime in the near future. They're always putting these silly things on sale. And for $29, even if you already have all the other plugins and you just want something to experiment with, this is pretty cool. And you can also use this on individual tracks as well. I haven't really played with that. It's really intended to be on the mix bus. So now just quickly, if you guys don't mind, comparatively speaking, because like I said, this mix was already done as part of the learningtomix.com content. I threw this on just for this show. So I didn't mix into this at all, which I would typically put this on at the beginning of the mix and mix through it. But just to show you if I bypass this, what I originally had for this mix, which was this plugin, which is the compressor piece of it. This was an SSL mix, by the way, so that's why I'm using primarily SSL stuff. And then the virtual mix rack, if I turn this on, this has all the EQ in the custom series lift, which is kind of the EQ section. And then we have a saturator here, which is kind of like the distortion piece. And then we have revival. And then I had a tape machine. Okay, so what I can do is now the CLA MixDown is bypassed. So if you want to hear the mix originally before I use this plugin, here's what the mix sounded like with the other plugins. You know what I mean? So we can kind of compare them. Let me just make sure I turn this on. There we go. So here's what it was, my original mix. Same section of music. So now if I shut those off and compare that to the CLA MixDown, which is what we just listened to, here's what the difference is.
Sometimes we need a light to see the road we're on. Feels like it's every other day. It seems like everything that matters fades away.
So there's kind of the comparative, you know, apples to apples kind of thing. So by using the separate plugin, the original mix is a little bit brighter. The CLA MixDown is a little bit warmer sounding, but again, just dialing this in a few seconds without spending a lot of time, you can virtually get the same tonal, you know, characteristics of the mix, whether I use this plugin or whether I use the other 3 plugins that I just showed you. So the plugin does sound great. Depends on how you want to use it. It's certainly cheap enough, and it's a good way to get into a mix bus chain without having to spend a ton of money on other plugins. If you want an all-in-one, this is a pretty good solution. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about it. I don't know what you guys thought of that. Someone in the chat room saying that it is still a $29 plugin.
It is. It is. It is. I want a link.
Yeah. Someone put a link in the chat. Would you guys please? It's gotowaves.com.
Well, they can't put a link. Only admins of the chat can actually put a link.
It's waves.com. Just go to waves.com and it'll just search it. It'll pop up for sure. Okay. And $29. It's a hell of a deal. At least I think it is for the money.
Oh yeah, totally.
And you can get it to sound really good. All right, let me bring Johnny Lipsham. You want to share your screen? Where's my Skype here? Hold on.
1 second.
There we go. Johnny and Johnny are back on the screen, or at least one of the Johnnies are. Johnny guy must have shut off his camera, which is cool.
Yeah, I had to for a second. Sorry.
No problem. Okay, we're on. We should be any second on Johnny Lipsham's screen. And then after Johnny's done here, guys, we'll do a Q&A in the chat. So if you guys have questions about any one of the demonstrations, certainly ask, or anything else in general. Take it away, Johnny Scotland.
Alrighty. What I'm going to show is not technically a plugin, but it is super cool. Does that qualify, Dave?
As long as it's super cool, yeah.
Okay. All right. It is super cool. It's I got sent actually by one of the guys that I think runs looploft.com. I got sent a whole bundle of their loops just shortly before Presonus got hold of them. It's quite strange how I just got chatting to this guy. I think he's called Russ, I think his name is. And we got chatting about drum programming and that kind of stuff. And I told him about MIDI drums made easy and all of that kind of stuff, which he was really interested in. And so he said, hey, why don't I just send you like our platinum bundle and you can have a play about with that. And I was just like, oh, that'd be very kind, thank you. So he sent it, and then like about a week later, Presonus then announced that they had got hold of the same thing, except that There are sound sets, I believe, now for Impact, I think, with Loop Loft, so you can actually have the drum sets mapped into the there. Start my sentence again. And action. The Loop Loft drum sets can be mapped into Impact. Now, I'm not going to show that because I haven't got the sound sets yet. I've been meaning to get them today and just have run out of time. And they're not fully downloaded yet. I've been trying to download them whilst you guys have been doing your demos, and it's not quite ready. So, I'm basically going to show you some of what you get with all of the bundles that they have. So they have blues, they have brushes. In fact, they have loads of brushes. They have cinematic drums. They have very dry sounding drums. They have drums played with everything but sticks. They've got reverse drums, funk drums, hip hop, rock, jazz, odd meters. So that would be like 5/8, 7/8, 9/8, 11/8, all that kind of stuff. Then straight pop, then world, and then various world percussion sets, which loops on congas, bongos, castanets, you name it, they've got it. So I thought I would show a few of these off because they are outstanding and they're beautifully recorded, especially the brush ones. They're really, really cool. And they've got them all at various different tempos. So I think what I will do, rather than fiddling about with matching the tempos in the song, I think I'll just use the browser to do it, if that's okay.
Sure.
It works pretty well that way. So you've got, for each of the folders that you get with the download, you get a whole set of different loops within a specific tempo. So this is brushes, and they've called this funky. And actually, the funky brushes ones are so usable. I'm actually using them, some of them, on my next EP because they're just so outrageously cool. So check these out. So that's nice, kind of like using a crash ride that's got rivets in it at the start of that groove, and it's on toms and stuff. It's really, really nice. Let's try this one here. And they're just really, really beautifully recorded. And you get a whole bunch of different crash cymbal ones, different fills. So these funky ones are really, really nice. They've got this backbeat one, which is a little bit faster tempo, but really cool as well.
Wow, those sound so good.
Yeah, they do. They are just epic. They're just really, really beautifully recorded. So you've got some Nashville Train style ones as well, which I really quite like these. I have actually thought about using these on one of my songs. I've never done a train song before, so I thought for my next EP, I've got to have a train song.
Gotta have a train song.
So yeah, I'm going to do a song that's kind of got that kind of train feel to it. So, and I'm going to be using these loops because they're just so good. Which is going to put my drummer Dave's nose out of joint probably. So you got some.
So is that a pack that you bought through the studio to the PreSonus shop? Is that part of the loop law? How did you get?
You can now get it through the PreSonus shop. You can get a whole bunch of loops like these. You get stereo ones. I think you get some multi-track ones as well. And you can also get the sound sets for Impact. So you can have the different drum sets that we used in the creation of the loops and have them mapped into Impact. So you can create your own using those one-shot samples. So,
right.
And it's very, very cheap from the PreSonus shop as well. So they've obviously struck a really good deal with the guys at Loop Loft. I got all of these before that deal all took place. So, and it's just because I just sent an email to the guy Russ that runs Loop Loft because I've been so impressed with the the set of loops they'd done with a drummer called Matt Chamberlain.
Okay.
So I sent an email to him saying, I'm just so impressed with these that, and then we just got emailing back and forth talking about MIDI programming. And so that's how I acquired these. They didn't cost me anything.
Well, there you go. There you go. But you said they're affordable in the PreSonus shop, so people could check them out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got loads, not just brushes. They've got like these cinematic ones. I'll show you some of these, just real quick. Let's try this one. That's kind of like your what I would do. That's me washing the dishes.
Nice. Or falling down the stairs.
With the dishes.
With the dishes.
With the dishes, exactly.
Or me just inside the dishwasher, drowning slowly.
I mean, you get a load of loops there. I mean, there's a ton of those there.
Hundreds.
Now, do you actually have the individual hits so that you can actually program a kit in Impact?
It's interesting. You should mention that because I've actually done one for Impact. There are some of these loops where you do actually get the samples. So this one, for example, Dry Drums Volume 1. I'll play some of the loops just from here, just for a second. Let's try this one here. So that's a really cool one. This is a Birch Tama drum set. I think it's the Tama Artstar 2, which is circa 1999. That's what it sounds like to my ears, because I played Tama drums for about 20 years, and I'm pretty sure this is that particular kit that they've used. But as I say, you do get the samples. So if you went into the samples folder here, you have the Tama kit, you have the Maple Ludwig, which is a late 60s Ludwig, I believe, and then the Gretsch is an early 70s Gretsch kit, I believe, is what Russ told me. But you do get the samples. So you get the crash.
So there you go. So you could build your own thing.
You can build your own kit in Impact. I've already gone ahead and mapped one. I go to Impact, and I got the Gretsch one. Where did I put it? There it is. Gretsch Tight, I called it. Once I've mapped it. Hang on, I need to get my MIDI keyboard on, which I forgot to do. And so I just went ahead and mapped it out as close to kind of traditional mapping as I could. You know, that kind of like where you have the hi-hats on F#1 and the kick drum on C and the snare drum on D.
Now, are there multiple dynamic levels? Like, does like the same snare have like maybe 7 or 10 different hits, like from softest to hardest?
Sort of. Hang on, I need to on to this, don't I? Yeah, not really. They're kind of just one shot with one velocity. But you can edit the velocities after the fact in the MIDI editor and kind of get what you want that way, which is obviously the long way round, which I'm sure nobody is at all interested in doing it that way round. But you can map them out and play beats. Pretty easily and create your own drum patterns doing that. And I think actually you might find that this drum kit gets used in MIDI Drums Made Easy Volume 2.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
That's perfect.
And that's basically the Loop Loft Gretsch Dry kit mapped to Impact, and that's how I did at least part of the MIDI Drums Made Easy Volume 2.
Very good.
That is Loop Loft. They also do loops for other instruments, like there's some really, really good saxophone ones. One of the I think it's one of the tenor sax players out of Snarky Puppy has fairly recently done a set of loops for Loop Loft. which I've played some of the samples of, and I'm very tempted to go and purchase once I've got some more funds in the account.
I was actually thinking on getting their acoustic guitars loop sample set. It sounds so amazing.
I listened to those as well and yes, I'm very tempted for the same reason. So yeah, but I mean, if I got the tenor sax pack, then that would put my dad out of business.
Oh no.
Because he played on my last EP.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, that would be rude.
That would not be very wouldn't be a very good son if you did that. No, but that's really cool. I mean, that's awesome. So if you're a PreSonus Studio One user, you can head over to the PreSonus shop, right? Check that out.
Yeah, it's in the section, I believe.
Yep. And if you're not a Studio One user, you can always just go to probably Loft and just probably get it there, right?
Yeah, you just won't be able to get the sound sets. That's part of the unique package with Studio One.
Well, yeah, that's interesting.
I believe that's the case.
So it actually puts them like into the loop library for Studio One, because when they're a sound set, all that stuff goes in there.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they're basically, from what I can gather, they are fully mapped for impact, and yeah, I think that's the case.
Cool.
But as I say, I've not finished downloading them yet, so I can't even find out for sure. But once they're downloaded, if I am wrong, then I will issue a disclaimer immediately.
There you go. Thanks.
Excellent.
For keeping honest.
So does anybody have any questions for Johnny Lipsham about this this Loop Loft library that we looked at? It's really cool. We can take a bunch of questions if you want, Johnny. When you're done, unshare your screen, and I'll somehow try to get us all back on the screen together. And then Johnny Geib turns on your camera, or can you, or would you?
I will in 1 second.
1 second, and then we're all back on the screen somehow. By the magic, by the magic of Skype, we're all back on the screen.
FM. I used to have an electronics teacher that told me anything that you can't explain is FM. And we went through an entire session of school under that premise. And finally somebody asked, what the heck does FM mean? Well, it means frickin' magic. Of course, you can place frick.
Right.
A different word. And Dave, at the risk of pointing out something, you spelled my name wrong.
Did I? What did I say? Oh, it's G-E-I-B. I'm gonna fix that right now.
Oh yeah.
For the last half of the show. Watch how easy I can just fix that.
Yeah, it's cool that you can do that in OBS, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, yeah, I'm using OBS now more than anything, and it was free. Why use the program that cost me $500? It doesn't work very well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's unbelievable.
Exactly.
There we go.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Cool. Yeah, so we all should be on the screen. Yeah, we are. We're all on the screen now. Cool. Excellent. Well, that was cool, man. Those are really cool. Really cool demos. If anyone has any questions. Woodbeast, how are you? I saw you joining a little while ago. We have I have 23 on my end watching. I don't know what you guys see, but I know mine's
24. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So does anyone have any questions about anything? It doesn't even have to be about the plugins. Whenever we get together with all these folks, whatever you guys want to ask, feel free.
Yep.
Ask away. We'll hang on for a little bit longer and see what everybody's up to.
I can actually see Ian pointed a question at you and I, Dave, about does anyone have Waves Live? Just looked at it today. Sounds cool in an analog digital board. No, I'm not familiar with that one.
No, neither am I. To be honest with you, I'm not a. People are gonna say, well, that's kind of strange. I'm not really a real big Waves plugin user. I have them for instruction purposes more than anything else. I use them I teach with them as an alternative to buying Universal Audio stuff. So, I don't have the Waves Live. But I'm sure it's really cool. I'm sure it's something to take a look at.
So is that some sort of thing like the Slate Everything bundle, or is that actually just mostly plugins for live use?
I think it's mostly plugins for live use.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, Waves does have its own version, I think, of an everything bundle
they do.
Style
yeah,
thing.
Yeah, they do. Ian's asking, maybe for Johnny Guy, I bet you would know this before I would. 32-bit float or 24-bit? Need help?
Well, I don't think. Let's see. Oh, for the 32. Okay, I see what that is. I set it to the 32-bit float. The difference between the two is just so very slight, and if you've got like an i7 or above, something really powerful with a lot of memory, it's really not going to make any difference. I've noticed it save a little tiny bit of CPU on a slower machine, but it's not a major deal. I think that they should just preset it to 32-bit and just leave it that way. What it does is, the way I understand it, and I could be wrong, but the way I understand it is that it affects the dithering process when a mixdown is done. So you would, right. You would have to decide on what you're mixing for. I would think if you're mixing 48K or higher, you would go 32-bit. If you're actually mixing 44.1 like that, you probably want to keep it a 24-bit. But don't quote me on that, because it's one of those things that I also don't have a full understanding on it. I put it at 32 and I just leave it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I just said, because I've listened to both, and if there's a difference, I can't hear it. So either I don't know what I'm listening for, or it's so slight that it doesn't really make a difference, at least on my end.
I think it's more of a processing thing than a heating thing. I would assume that anything mixed from 24 to 32 is just going to, it probably has something to do with the dithering. That's the way I understand it. So, I would just set it to 32. Set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it. There we go. Nick is asking, Studio One tips. Hi, Dave. Can you show how to send to another send? Oh, Nick, yeah. Okay, he was sending right, Nick, you were sending a snare to a delay, then you wanted to send the delay to a reverb or something like, So let me show you quickly. The keyword being quick. Can I show? I got to go to screen. Hold on a second. Screen share, and then I'm going to bring up Studio One again, and let me just. Hopefully, you guys will all see Studio One in a second. So yeah, if you want to, and again, if my two colleagues here have a different way or another way of doing this, certainly show it. But Nick, if I understand your question, let's say you wanted to take this percussion track and you want to send it to this reverb in blue, and then you wanted to send that reverb to another effect, right? I think that's what you wanted to do. There's a couple of ways you can do this. Now, there are 3 different types of... I really don't want to do this in this mix. Well, I guess I could... I can always delete it.
Save it.
Yeah, I won't save it. So anyway, you have 3 types of tracks, and people asked me about this before. You right-click, you have a bus channel, an effects channel, and a VCA. And people think, or the effects channel was really, I guess, intended originally to have things like reverbs and delays on them. And people always ask me, what's the difference? Because I don't use effects channels. I use bus channels, and I use them as effects channels. And people say, well, why do you do that? The reason why I do that is because on an effects channel, which I just added here, there is no send. As you can see, you can put an insert, but you can't send it. And there may be another reason to use that track, but that's how I think of it. So I don't use effects tracks. So what I do is I use a bus channel, because I have a send. Now, some people say, well, you can use a VCA. I guess that's true, but I used to do this before there was VCAs in Studio One. So this is just part of my workflow. I know there's different ways of doing things.
Don't forget, though, you can't really put effects. A VCA is only for control. You can't do anything with effects with a VCA.
Right. So I just use the bus channel for everything and just customize it to whatever I'm using for it, because that's just my simple mind and the way I think. So now that I have a reverb, in this case, I have a slate reverb on this drum track, on this for drums. This is my drum verb. Now, if I wanted to send that percussion track to that drum verb, which you see I did that here, now you could take this drum verb and I can send it off to another effect with the send if you wanted to. Or if your question was, I think, in this case, the percussion track, you sent it to a reverb and then you also want to send it to a delay, you can see what you can do here. You just add your second effect. So let me just remove this here. I'll remove this and I'll just add a bus channel. Okay, so now I have a reverb, and let's say this bus channel was a delay. And let's just say it's going to be the same effect to keep things simple. And let's just say that was a delay. Now, if I want to send it to both tracks, you can just use a separate send. I sent it to my reverb first, then I have my send, and I can just send it to my delay second. And now I have my percussion track going to my reverb and then also going to my delay. So that's typically how I would do it. I would send it to a reverb first and a delay, or a delay then a reverb, just by using it in multiple sends. But if you set up your effects with a bus channel, like I showed you, you can send that bus channel somewhere else, whether it's another effect, whether it's a parallel track, whether it's a whatever. You can send it to whatever else. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know. I don't know if Johnny, if you have anything to add to that. Or is that...
I just set up something here to show them how to do that with the sends.
Oh, you did? Okay. Let me get rid of this. And if you want to share your, let me get back to my Skype. Sorry about this. I'm working 3 screens here. So go ahead and share your screen, Johnny, if you want, and you can show.
I am starting right now.
Okay, Johnny Geib is now up on the screen, or will be in a second.
Be-doo. All right, you should have my Studio One screen.
Yes, your Studio One screen is live and and so
okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so David uses buses. I got a lot of people that I teach that actually use the bus. Now, the advantage of using the effects track is that you can have a single effect, and you can add a send to. If you look here, if I zoom in here, you can actually see that on this particular track, I have a mix verb and a beat delay inserted on the sends. That creates these effects channels right here. Which is very cool to be able to say you can just send this one track. You can send this level of the mix verb to the reverb and this level of the beat delay to the mix verb. So you can actually do it this way. And this is like, I guess we would call it parallel because it's not going through one to get to the other. It's just sending different levels of the same track to each of the effects. So it's not processing each other. So now if you actually wanted to process a send with a send, then you would actually do this. You would go ahead and you would put your effects on the sends like you see here, but you would turn one of these down. And then you would actually go to, let's see, we got the mix verb first. I'm going to turn these both down for right now. I got the mix verb first, and then I got the beat delay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to send this signal to the beat delay. And if I didn't want to send this to the beat delay, I wanted to send the reverbed effect to the beat delay, then I would go up here and I would actually, on the beat delay, if you click on main here, since I have 2 sends set up, you see that there's a mix verb option. So that way, this mix verb, the track would go to the mix verb, the mix verbed track would go to the mix verb bus. I've said this backwards, didn't I? I've got these reversed. There we go. Now it makes sense. Okay, so the track is going to the mix verb. Okay, so let me put this back to main, and now I want the signal that has the reverb on it. I want the signal and the reverb to get processed by the beat delay. So I would actually send the mix verb to the beat delay, and then the beat delay goes to the main. So you can actually see that this is turned down now. I'm not actually sending the track source to the mix verb. I'm actually sending the track to the mix verb and the mix verb to the beat delay, and then the beat delay goes to the mains. I hope that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
So then you're asking now, how would I actually be able to adjust the level of the wetness for the beat delay and the reverb? Well, then you would just open the beat delay itself. See if I can open this up here. That's not what I'm looking for. Where is it? I need to open the beat delay itself. There we go. And then I would actually use the mix knob. I would actually take the lock off, and now I can actually mix how much of the beat delay is being mixed with the reverbed signal. So in the case that you're actually using 2 different sends, each of the effects are only used. One is going to the mix verb, one is going to the beat delay. Each individually, neither of the effects hear the other delay. But the way that I set this up this way, with the beat delay, with the reverb going to the beat delay, I know this is getting confusing, folks, I'm sorry. With the reverb going to the beat delay, now the beat delay is processing both the signal and the reverb. And you would make that adjustment here. God, was that too confusing? I think I got confused.
No.
But I know I explained it right.
No, you did explain it right, and I think Nick says that's exactly what he wanted to hear. So I'm glad that you were able to help him, because I couldn't have done that good of a job on that. So thank you.
No problem. But the thing to remember is that if you're using a send, going to a send, you just have to keep an eye on the last effect in the chain. In this case, it's the beat delay. You just got to make sure that you get the mix right, because you can end up flooding your reverbed signal with delay, and you end up with a lot of mud. I usually keep this at about 50% to start, and then I do my feeding to feeding to feeding. So some people I've actually seen people send a signal to a mix verb, then to a flanger, and then to a beat delay. This would be for like getting some really cool keyboard sounds on some of this background mood music, which I've been doing a lot for like massage places. We have this place out here called Massage Envy, and I've actually they actually use some of the tracks that I've done in Studio One, and I've done this little trick with the send to the send to the send, and it does, if you can't wrap your brain around it, you can get lost pretty quick. But I think that was the best explanation I could come up with.
No, that was great. That was cool. Hopefully that answered your. I think Nick said that was exactly what he wanted to hear
Good.
there. So cool. Okay. Let's see. We have a couple more questions. H. Scott is asking, David, could you give a rig rundown? Can you give us a rundown of our reverb setup on that? I know that it's the screen's too far from me. I know it's there, but it's not evident on my YouTube channel. I'm not sure what you're asking, H. Scott. The reverb setup on what? I'm not sure what you're asking. If you can clarify, I can try to help you. Tony says, hey guys, I noticed as I'm recording in my bedroom, I stumbled across this. When I record most all my tracks in the same spot without moving the mics, I find my mixes are easier to mix. Is this right?
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds like that's exactly what would happen.
Absolutely. Yep. And I would add to that, Tony, one of the things that you can get is one of those microphone protectors. What the heck do they call them? The screens that just go around the microphone. And I've actually got 3 different spots in my room where I have no soundproofing. And if I want a real natural effect, I can actually put the mic aimed at the corner and actually sing behind the mic. You can actually get a really nice room texture. So what you're experiencing makes total sense. And this is why I always tout capture is key. And maybe I could also add consistency to that capture and mic placement and the spot in the room. You can move that microphone about 6 inches and get a completely different sound. And you're like, what the hell did I do wrong? So that's very, very common. But yeah, you are absolutely right on that.
Good point. Yeah. Ian asks, plugins, PreSonus, Sample Magic, any songs that David, Johnny have used any of them lately or any usage? Not sure I understand the question. If you're asking about Sample Magic is a plugin that is for like using reference tracks. Is that what you're asking? If you are.
Oh, is this Sample Magic? Is that one of the packages that PreSonus is selling?
Oh, I don't know. Do they call it Sample Magic? I don't know what that is. So I'm thinking of something different. So forget what I just said.
It's the bundle that you get for free with a PreSonus interface, I believe.
Oh, okay. So they have the same name as a plugin called Sample Magic. There's a Sample Magic AB out there, but forget that. Okay, so that's a PreSonus thing.
Yeah, and
I think it is the third-party one, isn't it, Johnny? It is the third one. They're just selling it.
It is stocked with third-party things. Like there's a lexicon in reverb in there. There's a few different EQs in there. But I think they're all kind of like demo versions of actual plugs that they've acquired. They must have acquired, I guess, demo licenses for some of these plugs, which they put in their bundles that now come with a PreSonus interface.
Oh, cool.
I have them. I haven't used them as yet, but I do have them. I've had some trouble getting some of them to actually work.
Same here.
Like some of the licenses to actually instantiate in Studio One. So I don't know what the story is there, but I kind of get all of it to work.
Well, Ian says that's exactly what he wanted to know. So you're talking about the right subject.
All right, cool.
Let's see. Missy says, any tips on the 3D sound field, getting your ear on it? Yes, by Mixing Made Easy Volume 2. And I spent an hour and a half talking about the 3D sound field. But I'm kidding, because I know Missy already has that. That's why they're asking me this question. It's a compression thing, right? So the 3D sound field, for those that you don't know, you have everyone thinks of the stereo spectrum as left and right, right? So you have, take guitars, you'll pan them hard left, you'll pan them hard right. But we also think about the 3D sound field. The way I think about compression is I don't think about just left and right with panning. I also think about front and back, right? And up and top and bottom. So the 3D sound field is just that. It's left, right, front, back, top, bottom. And the way you use attack and release in a compressor to be able to get the illusion to the listener that instruments are placed in certain parts of not what I coined, what someone that taught me this coined, the 3D sound field. I can't take credit for it. So basically what that means is when I'm mixing, I'm looking at the screen, yes, obviously, but subconsciously I'm visualizing it as a band on stage. That's just how it resonates with my simple mind. So my drums typically, unless you're the Stray Cats and the drummer's in the front of the group, the drummer's usually behind all the rest of the instruments, yes? So you usually have your drums in the back line, and then you'll have your bass slightly ahead of that, and maybe some keyboards or some supporting guitars, acoustic rhythm guitars, or depending on the band, it could be, you know, drums in the back, bass and electric guitar right kind of side by side, and then obviously vocals and background vocals in front, right? So you kind of have those three layers from front to back of stage. So for example, when I use compression, a lot of times I use on drums, again, it's a general statement, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times I'll use a fast attack on drums. And people say, why do you use a fast attack? Use too fast of attack. You cut off all the punch of the kick and the snare. Right. Well, not really if you know how to use the release and if you know how to not over compress. And the reason why I use the fast attack is because when you use a fast attack on a compressor, it pushes, if you're looking at your band, it pushes the drums back in the mix, okay? And you say, well, any tips on how to get your ear on it? The only way to really get your ear on it is to either shut off your screen or close your eyes and take a drum kit and put it on a bus. You have a whole drum kit lightly mixed, put a compressor on a bus, and use the attack. And start with the attack very quick, and then start to slow it up. And you'll start to hear, subtly, you'll hear that the drums will start to sound a little more distant from you. And when the attack is slow, all of a sudden it gets very punchy, and the drums feel like it pulls in front of you. You can also do this with a vocal, a solo lead vocal. So and the reason why you work the 3D sound field, or the reason why I do it, is because if you don't do it, then everything sounds like it's right in front of you, linear. And you may have left, right, and center, but it's very this, and it doesn't have any depth. Okay, so you asked how do you get your ear on it? The way you get your ear on it is by closing your eyes and by focusing on one instrument at a time, and just play with the attack and release, and you'll start to feel it. Once you hear it for the first time, it's a lot like compression. You know, when you're learning compression, and sometimes you can't hear compression, but when you first hear it, you go, ah, now I get it. When you first experience that depth front to back, you're going to go, oh. And once you know what to do, now you can use a compressor, and this is why we always talk about these plugins. You just don't use it to compress. I'm also using it to move the instrument around the stage, if you will. So depending on the mix, let's say it's like I don't know, it's like an indie rock track, and let's say it's got a real kind of a driving bass where a lot of times the bass would kind of sit back in the mix with the drums, but maybe in this particular mix you want that bass to be more aggressive. It's more of a featured instrument. Well, then I might slow up the attack a little bit to pull the bass a little bit forward. Okay, and so I hope I answered your question. It's basically you got to do this thing in solo, and you have to shut your eyes and don't look at the screen and don't look at the needles on the plug-in, and work with attack and release. And if you don't, and I know Missy does, but I really do spend well over an hour in Mixing Made Easy Volume 2 doing this, and I do a lot of demoing and A and Bing. So if you don't, and I know you do, but if people don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and you really want to know what I'm talking about, go by Mixing Made Easy Volume 2, and I spend a long time talking about it. It's going to give you're going to give your mixes a really a sense of depth, and it really does take your mix to a whole nother level, So I hope that helps. Sorry I went on a little too long there, guys.
Oh, that's okay. No, not at all. I actually accomplished the same kind of 3D mixing using a plate reverb and a compressor. I can keep the punch with the compressor. And if you get the plate reverb, use something like Studio One's room reverb, which is really CPU intensive, but you can adjust the room reverb to actually get your distance and direction And if you use it subtly enough, you can get very much the same 3D effect with just a single compressor and the room reverb. So
there's different ways of doing it. It's
right. Mine is more of a simpleton way, and you don't always get the desired effect doing that way, but it's one of the options.
Yeah, that's another thing you can try. Ian asks, David, watched all your In the Biz and music business videos. Helped me out a lot to figure out how to get clients and getting paid doing it. Well, that's great. Fantastic. I'm glad some of my tips helped. If you don't know what that is, there's a playlist on my YouTube channel called The Studio Biz, B-I-Z, and it just kind of shares how do you get clients, how do you get started, blah, blah, blah. So that's fantastic, Ian. I'm glad to hear that. Let's see. Any other questions? You did miss these already. Let's see. Tony says, thanks. Love you guys. Thank you, Tony. Love you as well.
Yes. Awesome. Feel the love.
Feel the love in the room.
In my best Barry White voice.
If only my voice went that low,
Feel the love. I can't do it today.
Woodby says on YouTube, Missy and Dave, great question and reply to the topic. Would love to see it in a demo. Woodby said it's very difficult to do in a demo over YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
It really is because of the way YouTube handles the audio. It's such a subtle thing. Again, I think my product is probably the best way for you to really experience it. I'm not just trying to sell you something. I'm just telling you that do it on YouTube. I know it's very subtle, and I know the way YouTube handles the audio, and they compress the hell out of it already. And so I think it flattens everything, and so I don't know that you're going to hear this very well. So I'm sorry, but that's just the reality of it.
You can actually, with OBS, you can do the 320 broadcast, and it's actually pretty good. I've had people actually tell me that on the replay, you can hear the differences even more so than live because it's pretty processed. But yeah, that would be a really difficult example to do to where it would really make sense audio-wise. So probably better to just watch the video.
Yeah, and then like I said, just experiment with it. I wish I could give you a better answer. Let's see. Ian says, last question from me. Okay, Ian, no problem. You can ask as many questions as you like. Waves versus isotope. Not by which plugins different sounds it makes. Modern versus vintage, British, etc. I like to stick to one brand. I'm not experienced with isotope. I don't know if you guys are. I don't use any other stuff just because.
I actually used their which one was it? The green one. I always forget what it was called. And then I used they had a simpler. God, I can't remember either of the names. The only thing that I had issues with Isotope was its CPU since Studio One. Otherwise, the Isotope, the mastering one, maybe Woodbeast can help me. Maybe Woodbeast can actually help me with the name of the one of the earlier Isotope plugins for mastering that was done. In my opinion, the only issue with Isotopes is their presets are way over exaggerated. There's nothing really subtle with the Isotope plugins. They are good if you are going to start from scratch. Ozone, thank you. That's exactly it. The Ozone one. I stopped using Ozone because the presets were useless to me. But they had the other one. It was the gray one that you could actually insert on the channels. It was actually made for the channels. Now that is a fantastic plugin. And if somebody would be so kind as to try to figure out what that one was, it was just like Ozone, but it was very low CPU intensive, and I actually did use it for mastering as well. No, not Nectar. An earlier one. It was the Made to Ozone. It was for channels, as to where Ozone was primarily for the main bus. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah,
Darn it,
I'm not familiar with their stuff.
Yeah, so they're great plugins. It's just that their presets aren't great. So if you have a little bit of an understanding about what they actually do, then I would definitely say to go with them on a manual sense. Don't use the presets very much. Oh, Alloy. That was it, Nick. Alloy. Alloy is the one I would recommend over the Ozone.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Like I said, I have no experience with them. Johnny Lipsham, do you use any of the Isotope stuff at all?
The only one I think I've got is their neutrino, which is kind of like it's like a harmonic exciter. I
Oh,
think.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good one. Yeah.
And I do use that. I use that for my bass. And I just have that as an insert on my inputs going directly into Studio One because it just makes a sweet sound to the fretless bass. So I love it.
Nice. No, really cool. Well, that's cool. Any let's see. Any other questions from anybody? We still have like 22, 23, something like that. Rainier says is the plugin you just mentioned, Johnny, is a freeware.
Yes, it is.
It is. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I'm sure with any of the isotope stuff, you could probably demo it, right? Like any other plugin company on the planet Earth, you could demo it. Yeah, that's really cool. Let's see. We got anybody else? Any questions for myself or the two Johnnies? It's like a magic act.
I know. You know what?
Dave and the two Johnnies.
Dave and Johnny squared.
Johnny squared.
Not to be confused with Johnny Quest, which is something completely different.
Completely different.
I gotta tell you, doing this with the two of you guys is so much easier to keep track of what's going on in the chat. I keep going up and down the chat just to make sure we don't miss anything. And boy, this is great on my voice too, by the way.
Yeah, it's lighter work all round. I think having the three of us do it.
Johnny Geib, there's a question for you. Studio One tips, Johnny Geib. I'm still struggling to work out the relative to scale feature of Studio One X.
Yeah, that Nick, you actually are not the only one there. And once we have the developer of Studio One X on the live stream, we can really address those questions. However, if you actually go to the Studio One X forums, Narek was kind enough to actually put up a video, Nick. Go ahead and check that out. It's got no audio, but he kind of shows how to use it. Go check that out and let me know if you find it.
Yeah, Nick says here that he thought it was a way to have the chords programmed in a diatonic progression, but it's not. And that's what we were doing the other night, right?
Right, that's what we were trying to do. Yeah, we were trying to figure out what it does.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought as well. Yeah,
and that's what we all thought it did. And so, yeah, definitely go to the Studio One X. Go to the Studio One X forums, and they will actually tell you that. And you know what? What I'm going to do here real quick is I am going to, for those of you, I noticed you got a whole bunch of different names in your live stream. And David, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link to the Studio One X video that I did so people kind of know what it is.
Yeah, go right ahead. Of course.
Right. I'll do that. Give me 1 second, guys.
Yep, that's great. No, he says, cheers, Johnny. Thanks. He'll have a look. So that Nick.
Okay, cool.
Nick said that's cool. Ian says Studio One X. Is that the newest addition to Studio One?
No.
It's independently made sort of extra macro toolbars. How you describe it, Johnny?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically an extension of the macro toolbar. It's called scripts, but that's just its actual function within the program. I'm trying to get people to call it the macro toolbar on steroids.
Yeah, and that macro toolbar is pretty powerful as it is. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
it. Here's the link. I'm going to put the link in here.
It has nothing to do with Studio One Expert either.
Oh shoot! I can't put a link because it's not my chat, Frel.
If you send it to me after the broadcast, I'll put it in the description. So when the video goes in the archive, people could check it out. Just go ahead.
I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to put it in the in our Skype chat, David. If you can copy that into the chat.
That's a good idea.
Can I copy that into the chat? Yes, no, because the chat. Right now I got the chat open on a completely different computer.
Oh, that's not gonna work.
But I'll make sure it goes in the description, guys. I'll make sure if you leave it in the chat, Johnny, after the broadcast. So if you guys, later on tonight, tomorrow, bring it up, and you can you'll see the link in there. I'll make sure it's there for everybody.
Got it. No problem. Sounds good.
Let's see. What else? Robert. Okay, Robert Booth. Thanks, Robert. That was very nice of you to say that. Let's see. Ian says, Studio One Expert.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not Studio
No.
One Expert.
I mean,
No, nothing to do
there
with
is
them.
there is a site called Studio One Expert, but I don't think that's what they were talking about.
No.
No. Basically, it's just an extension of the macro toolbar. And David, if I'll send you a couple, or I don't know if I can put the links in the description either, or not the description in the comments. I don't think I can post links in your comments either.
You can. You can.
You can? Then go ahead and do it.
All right.
You
Well,
do it-
there's no comments yet because the live stream isn't published yet. So
Right. It will be though.
Yeah.
exactly.
Let's see. Tony says, Dave, you still playing with your band? Yes, I am. We got a new lead singer. She's great,
Awesome.
by the way. We got a female singer doing classic rock music that's typically male-dominated vocals.
Awesome.
She's got a very Melissa Etheridge-esque type
Oh,
voice.
nice.
Ooh,
So-
I'm excited now.
So when you're doing songs by Bad Company with a female vocalist like that,
Oh,
it's very
that's gonna be
interesting. So yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
having a lot of fun with it. It's something to do.
Oh yeah, that's not really good for a bunch of drunk guys to hear a female singing "Feel Like Making Love." I think that would really.
Well, no, actually, it's why you have 100 people show up at the show. So it's actually a good thing. Always having someone that's better to look at on stage than me is always a good thing.
I know
So
the feeling. I know the feeling. I got a face for radio. I'm sure.
me too. So Woodbeast says, Dave, sure, I'll check out your 3D video. Thanks. Sure, excellent, Woodbeast. And if you do, and if you have any questions, hit me up email, and I'll work with you. I promise.
Gosh.
Let's
Well-
see.
It's really bad for my imagination to go there. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's just not healthy. It's not healthy. You know.
That's
Pass on
great.
to the next moment.
It's great, Dave, that you've got a new vocalist for your band. My band sadly passed away this weekend.
Oh. Sorry to hear that. Obviously.
Yeah. My band that was a 12-piece band back in 2008 then became a 6-piece band and then became a trio due to financial cutbacks and all sorts that have happened here in the UK over the last 10 years. We basically now cannot afford to operate, unfortunately. So I am bandless at the moment, which is a shame because
Oh.
I've had the band for 21 years. So
That is a shame.
kind
Oh
of an era.
boy. Missy, Johnny, did you see Missy's comment there? I don't
Let's
know if you
see.
want me to read that or if you want to. You see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh well, thank you for that, Missy. I appreciate that very much.
That's
That is
awesome.
that's very cool.
Actually, yeah. If she doesn't mind me reading it,
No,
she
go ahead.
actually donated to my PayPal account enough for me to actually get that plugin, the Mixdown plugin. I appreciate that extremely. Missy is one of not only one of David's dedicated followers. She is also pretty dedicated to the home studio trainer site as well.
Yeah,
and
and me,
Yeah.
that as well. Hey Johnny, I include you in on the home studio trainer just like David. So I think we're all one big happy
Yeah, we
family.
really are.
And I think it's probably worth pointing out, to everyone that I think the three of us are the only ones that are actually doing these live streams like this, where we are actually addressing people and where we're actually doing demonstrations and everything. There are so many out there that that are just they're doing things in a general sense, which isn't bad. So I think that things like this, what Missy did, and just the overall attention to our live streams. We can pop up anywhere, and you guys find us.
Yeah, it's true.
I know I speak for Johnny and David by saying this. We appreciate the fact that you guys hang on to everything that we do and everything that we offer, and you make it well worth our time. And I just kind of wanted to publicly say thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I ditto. I agree. And Missy, I have I need a new Gibson Les Paul. So if you want to donate.
David, you almost had a spit take on your hands, and it would have gone all over my equipment.
So if you want to donate, no, I'm teasing, obviously.
Oh my!
No, Missy's great. They support everything we all do, because I know she has all of my products because I see the names and all this stuff. Anytime I put something out,
sure.
she buys it.
Missy,
so
no
it's really
good deed
cool.
goes unpunished. No good deed goes unpunished, Missy. So, sorry.
Yeah. So if anybody needs anything, let Missy know and she'll donate.
69 gold top. There you go.
I need a 1954 gold top with P90s. I'll leave the link on my website. No.
54 strat.
Oh gosh. See, you know what? I should have kept it to myself, Missy.
So that was very kind and very cool.
Very, very cool. And you know what? That's how everybody is here. You know, you've got a lot more stuff actually for sale than I do. You make a lot of sales with that. I get a good amount of donations for the free stuff that I do. And I think Johnny receives, he's selling stuff through you right now, which I hope to someday if I get off my lazy butt and actually get something to you. But we all do appreciate it, guys. It was very, very cool.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Nick says he's going to buy me an air guitar. Excellent.
Oh.
I can play that one. It's the real one I have problems with.
Hey, well, at least you don't have Dooley Stills on your board, boy. You'd have to censor half of what he posts. But he's cool. He's cool. He's totally entertaining. It's great.
It's hilarious.
So any other questions for any one of us about anything? We'll try to answer as best we can. Again, we do this every month. We'll do this again next month as well. Between the three of us, I think there's a live stream going on probably 5 days a week. A week between Johnny. Every time we're all on here at one point or another.
Oh, yeah.
Woodby says the three of you are Studio One. Oh, that's very nice. Well, I can't say I'm Studio One. I use Studio One. These two guys actually know the program far better than I'll ever know the program. They just use it in a much different way than I do. So when people ask me about the intricacies of Studio One, I always refer them to Johnny and Johnny, unless it's something really simple, because I only use a very small portion of what Studio One can really do. Studio One's more powerful than what I even use it for.
As far as the Studio One knowledge goes, Johnny is also a mod in the HST Studio One support group. And between Johnny and myself, Johnny's got the musical experience. I got some of the technical experience with Studio One. We've got another moderator. His name is Rich. He is our tech guru. In the room, and between all of us and all of these groups, man, you guys are covered. You guys are absolutely covered.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've got it pretty much every base is stacked in your favor.
Yep, exactly, and that's what we're here for.
If I may.
Yes.
Yes.
Say it if you may.
You may.
Thank you.
Ian asked, David, can I hear compressed reverb on drums and vocals? Can you hear compressed reverb? Are you asking, can you hear it if you apply compression to reverb? Can you hear it on drums and vocals? I don't know, because I don't typically compress reverbs personally.
No.
I know guys that do. I don't. I never really felt like I had the need to. I've never really tried it. I'm sure you probably could. It'd be something that would be interesting to try.
There's a record I was listening to the other night where it had it very exaggeratedly so on a snare drum.
Oh, okay.
And it must have been done deliberately as an effect, so that you very clearly hear it. You hear the reverb kind of get hit hard and then very slowly released, and you hear it. And it has the most. It's an amazing effect.
Yeah, it's almost like a gunshot kind of a feel, because it's like you actually, it's almost like a pre-delay on it. You know who used to use that more than anybody was Phil Collins. With his gated reverbs, he would compress the living crap out of a reverb. Of course, he was doing things out of a board, not out of a DAW. But he got some killer stuff. There's a good video for those of you that are interested up on YouTube. Do a search, and you should be able to find Phil Collins drum effects. Just do a search for something like that. He does a great job at showing how he got that gated reverb on the song I Don't Care Anymore. And it's got, oh man, it is just awesome. And he actually showed putting a compressor after the reverb to get that nice flat gated power out of that. Another one too that you can look at is an old band called Power Station. Yeah, Robert Palmer was in. They had a uniquely gated Tama drum kit on some of those songs. There's a video up there on that too, and they showed how they did that. So look up those two. Hopefully they're still up there. It's been a while since I've seen them.
Very cool. No, that's an excellent. Those are two great bands from the '80s.
Oh yeah, God, my favorites. I'm
Really?
an '80s.
Early
I hate to-
early '80s.
Yeah.
It's the era I deliberately missed.
On purpose.
See, I don't talk about my 70s. You know, I'm old enough to actually have grown up in the middle of the 70s, and once the 80s came, I'm like, what did I just go through 10 years ago?
No. I'm kind of like I was born in the wrong era. I should have been, I should have been in my late teens, early 20s in the 1940s. I would have been a happy guy.
I would love to have been that age when rock and roll just came, when the Beatles came in. I would have loved to have been 15 years old when the Beatles came in. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
yes.
Any more questions? We still got 24 people hanging on, which is always a good thing. We're running about an hour and 40 minutes, roughly.
I've got 28 on my counter here.
Oh, yeah. Your counters are always higher than mine. I don't know why that is, but hey, 28's fantastic. We'll take it.
Seasonally adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
YouTube inflation. Exactly.
So do we have any other questions? Any other questions at all? We're taking them for about the next 10 or 15 minutes, and then we're probably going to call it a wrap.
Yep.
Until next month.
Although you don't want to see three white four-eyed guys doing raps. It would really be a bad idea.
Probably not.
Yeah, especially with Scottish bebop. Beat money.
Oh, jeez. What was that video that we did that in, Johnny? I don't remember.
It was a collaboration video where we were trying to demonstrate collaboration by Dropbox. And
That's right. That's right. You guys have got to check that out. It's so hilarious.
Oh, it's got to be the funniest video I've ever made. But yeah, there we go. Scottish beatbox.
It was like one of the first videos we did, and you were really kind of laid back and stuff. But when we started actually doing the examples and stuff, you like broke loose. It was awesome.
And you were trying to put me off as well.
Oh, well, it's unfortunately, it's a character flaw on my point.
Didn't work, though.
Let's see. So Ian says,
yep.
What happened to your other AI board, the one that you had before the Series 3?
The other PreSonus board I used to have, I sold it.
Sold it?
Yeah, well, I had no use for it once I had the Series 3.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So I unloaded it, and still using the Series 3. It's still sitting here waiting for the DAW control to come, which should be coming anytime now, from what I'm told. And I don't know, the little birdie, a little birdie keeps telling me that, but I don't know yet. We'll see.
But it's coming.
I know.
It's coming.
I know it's coming. One day I'm gonna turn on my board, and the little DAW light's just gonna light up, and then I'm gonna know.
Well, let me tell you guys, I actually use a CS18 here on my console. It is basically what the Studio Live Series 3 is going to be. At least that's my assumption. At least that's the way I've been told. Just having the automated fader control. I'm once that comes out, I'm trying to get my hands. I might actually go for the 24 track, the 24 channel version, just to keep the cost down and to try to get that in here. But I got to tell you, the Series 3 mixer, with if we get the flying faders for Studio One and then all of the interfacing with everything, I could literally get rid of everything in my racks right here on my console and just have that mixer. I won't need anything else because I don't use outboard gear. So for me, I could actually sell all of this stuff, just use the mixer, and I'm done. Everything is like contained in one unit. I could probably get about 152 pounds of cables.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, when I got to the Series 3, all my other hardware interfaces, mixers, summers, it's all gone. So everything is going through the Series 3, and so far so good. It's been working good, and I've had it now, I don't know, a handful of months, probably 6 months or however. I bought it when it first came out, so probably 5 or 6 months, and it runs great. It does everything I wanted to do it. And I did a video of somewhere on my channel about the different ways I use it. So I use the scenes, and I use my presets for my routings to be different, whether I'm doing things like this, or whether I'm recording my band, or whether I'm just mixing, and it all seems to work. So I like it a lot,
Excellent. And if I may say something, I just had something pop up on my iPad. I would like everybody to, whether you're religious or not, say a prayer for the folks in Florida because Irma is just about upon them.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that live there. That actually the person that helped one of my, I was telling Johnny earlier, my one of the website guy, he's a friend. The website guy that did my new website and the learningtomix.com website is right in the middle of that whole debacle. And so yeah, so we're hoping that everyone and my bass player in my band, his daughter lives right in the Florida Keys.
Oh geez.
So it's
I do plan, if it hits and the damage is extensive, I do plan to do the same thing that I did for the Texas folks. Maybe David, you'd like to get involved this time if we do this, just kind of a benefit drive to get some money out to the people that would actually going.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of damage and stuff like that. So for those of you that were here, the response to the live stream for Texas that I did over at HST was unbelievably received. It was awesome. We made $860,
wow,
which doesn't sound like a lot.
That's a lot of money.
People,
It is.
to this tight knit group. The video is still generating donations. I get people that actually check in to watch the video. I've had people that actually sat through all 6 hours of the video that's up on YouTube. It's awesome. It's got probably the most hits out of all of my live streams so far. But people are still sending me emails and private messages saying, hey, I just gave $10 and this and that. I do have a little tally here from the folks. The people that actually sent me messages to let me know that they gave. Where is it? Here it is. That actually said that they gave. There was 17 people that actually gave. Most of them were $5 donations and $10 donations, and the total of that was $365.
Well, that's awesome. And so how? And they're sending. Oh, you just set up like a donation thing. People are sending money in, and then you're able to get it to the proper people somehow.
Well, I actually know I have the links to the Salvation Army and to the Red Cross up under the video that's posted, and people are just going there. And I just asked people in the video, if you make a donation, just send me a message or something or post it in the description. And I'm posting it in the description, then I'm taking their post down so they don't get, so they don't get emails from anybody else.
Yeah.
But they're posting it up there, and as soon as I get the amount, I take their comments down, and I think about 12 of those came from just the comments in the video. So we can add that 365. We can actually add that to the 860, and we got over $1,000 that we sent out.
That's great. Yeah, we should. And now that you've said that, maybe the three of us, we could talk about maybe doing something together after this horrific thing goes through Florida, and maybe do a show or something. And I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely awesome. I think it would be very cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely do something, and I'm sure everyone that's watching this will see us, and we'll jump online and we'll help out, and let's try to help people that are in need, because my Lord, what's going through the whole state of Florida right now, we've never seen before, and you just hope that
and for the record, Donald Trump is not responsible for the hurricanes. I can't remember who that actress was that actually blamed the election of Donald Trump on the fact that Mother Nature is pissed at us for electing Trump. That's why she's killing us all.
Well, like we said, everyone's got their thought on something, right? I don't know.
We had this discussion before the show started. We'll stop right there. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah. So no, we'll definitely, we'll definitely do something together in a way to help maybe raise some money for all the people that are going to need it. So that's awesome. So so everyone stay tuned for that, and we'll put up a video on Facebook or something and let you know when we're going to do that. We'll talk about that offline, but we'll do something.
All right.
So we have any other question? Well, we should probably get rolling here, but I want to thank everyone once again for joining us for that plug-in show. Join us next month. We'll be doing the same thing again, and be sure to go out to Home Studio Trainer and johnnylipsham.uk.co.uk. I always screw that up.
JohnStudios.co.uk.
Oh, yeah, you got too many co's and too many things.
Exactly.
Check out his stuff. Go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com as well and learningtomix.com. And until next month, we will see you all soon. Thanks, everybody, for joining.